This morning, a history lesson on the start of snail mail in Alaska. Have you ever wondered how the post office got letters to people in some of the most remote areas of the state?
It's a tough job. Even in the gold rush era, a person mining on a creek in rural Alaska was able to receive a letter. In today's story time with Aunt Phil, author Laurel Downing Bill joins us back on the couch to take us to the very beginning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here.
You betcha.
So the U.S. Postal Service established the parcel post zone system in Alaska on September 15th, 1948, but people were getting mail long before that.
Yes, before Alaska became part of the United States, the Russians used dispatch cases to get their correspondence to and from Russia and Alaska. But then when America took over, of course, they really had to establish some kind of a system to get mail and packages to all the people that were going to be coming up to Alaska. In fact, the first U.S. postal system, then they established it in Sitka on July 23rd, 1867, which was almost a full 3 months before Alaska officially became part of the United States.
Wow.
And it's, you know, you can understand there weren't as many routes as there are today back then.
Yeah, well, since you didn't have any roads in Alaska then, and they had a few native trails and travel by water was at a minimum, those early pioneers of the postmen had to really carve out their routes through the wilderness. And they set up postal system between communities like Valdez to Eagle, along the Kuskokwim River, and then, of course, along the mighty Yukon as well.
And so you're saying it was the gold rush days when mail delivery really started to, get going strong.
Yeah, you had a lot of guys coming up here that were really seeking letters from home. So the early postmen first attempted to use horses to transport the mail, but those poor horses got bogged down in the deep snow.
Oh.
So then they turned to reindeer. Well, those guys turned out to be pretty stubborn and a little hard to harness train. So that's when they started relying on dogs, and dogs were perfect animals for carrying the mail through the wilderness. And they carried mail to some communities once a week, and then others, boy, they were lucky if they got mail once a month.
Wow.
Oh, wow. So let's talk about the height of the rush in Nome. What was that like?
Oh, my goodness. Wow, you had so many people heading up into Nome. Those mail carriers then had to get a route going from Dawson to Nome, and this is really crazy. Nome, around 1900, became the largest general delivery address in the entire United States when more than 20,000 people raced up there.
That
Wow.
is nuts.
That's incredible.
To think about. Now, eventually, airplanes started to deliver mail, not these poor little sled dogs. That sped things up a little bit.
Yes, it did. Colonel Carl Ben Eielson proved that flying the mail was a lot faster and cheaper than using dogs when he flew his single-engine airplane from Fairbanks to McGrath, that 300-mile route, on February 21st, 1924. And that kind of spelled the end of the dog runs. In fact, the last mail contract expired, which was between Fairbanks and Rampart, a few months after the post office established that zone system in September 1948. And then when Wiener, Alaska built their commercial facilities on St. Lawrence Island at Gamble and built the landing strip on Savunga that actually ended the last dog team run, that was in 1963.